Did you know that you can have permanent teeth in just...
Get ready for the show, it's about to begin. Pro fan talk when we dive right in. Sports talk.
In the city of Philly, where the birds take flight, Eagle swag on the rise each and every night. Tone and Markus got the scoop ready to ignite. From the lanes of South Street to the Broad Street lights, dashing like a running back, hitting every play. Blind guys in the zone, never led astray. Talking touchdowns, talking game day. Huddle around the mic, hear what they gotta say. Fly like an eagle soaring in the sky. Tone and Markus always standing by, bringing their heat, call it do or die. Philly squad, hear the battle cry. Fly like an eagle soaring in the sky. Tone and Markus always standing by, bringing their heat, call it do or die. Philly squad, hear the battle cry.
And we back.
Yes, sir.
What up, what up, what up?
What's good? What's good? What it is?
What's good with your tone?
I'm
been
good,
traveling,
man.
been missing each other, Mother's Day. A lot of stuff going on, man, but we back.
Listen, the
Getting ready to
grind
run.
don't stop, dog. The grind don't stop. You know what I mean? Listen, regardless of what goes on in the personal lives, this is a business. And when it's,
Facts.
and when it's a business, you got to show up, even when you're sick, rain, sleet, or snow. You know, Markus, we train to go.
Rain, sleet, or snow, man. Got to deliver the mail, bro. What's good with you? How was your weekend?
Weekend's good. Weekend was good, man. It's so funny. My weekend's kind of extended a little bit. Mom been in town for Mother's Day, so kind of just been taking it in with her. No complaints, man. No complaints. Everybody healthy. You having a good time, catching up, laughing. You know how that go, man.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Same thing here, man. Had a hectic weekend. Cooked a little bit. Saw the little one. Saw my little grandson.
Right.
And it was fun hanging with him for a minute, man, and just family time and just chilling, man. Now we got more Eagles news. Got a little bit of a schedule, so we ready to get to work, man.
Yeah, I'm excited about it, man. I'm excited. We got a lot to talk about. We got a lot to get into, especially when it comes to the schedule release. The entire schedule, I believe, releases on what is that? Wednesday, right? The entire schedule.
Yeah.
But we've had some early. We've had some appetizers, right? Eagles, Cowboys, week 1. Eagles, Bears, Black Friday weekend. Eagles, Commanders on Saturday around Christmas, I believe, right?
Yep.
So, we got some things that have come across the wire, and I'm excited, man. I can't wait to get into these matchups. I can't wait to get into just the delusion that has begun to resurface, amongst our NFC East rivals. But it's all good though. It's listen, the NFL season is a marathon.
Yes,
so
sir.
I'm excited about this.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Fan Eagles fangirl says, drop the banner on a rookie head coach. I didn't look at it that way, but you are absolutely right. Divisional rival that hasn't seen a banner in almost 30 years. Listen, let's go. I'm with you, Fanny, because you know what? Dallas's last Super Bowl is on VHS, so we'll just leave it at that. But
it's bro. I think them having a rookie hit, I don't want to get ahead of myself. So let's continue to slowly intro this thing. Let's dog walk this thing. You know what I mean? I don't want to get ahead of myself, Markus. You know how excited I get. So
you got to temper it. You got to temper it.
I'm gonna follow your lead, big dog.
There you go. There you go. Just we got a lot of things that we still need to see. We got a lot of Howie's not done making moves because it's gonna be some things that probably happen the closer we get to camp. So that's coming. We still trying to see who's gonna be injured, who's not. We got to get Jihad ready. We got to get N'Kobe back. But we are still in a good place. No, I guess with the exception of N'Kobe, everybody's coming back from injury or anything like that. We didn't have anything major happen towards the end of the season. I haven't heard anything about Nolan Smith, so I don't think that's an issue. I think Jihad is the only one where we just got to take his time and, he got to do what he got to do. But everybody else is ready to go, just like last year. Very interested to see how our new secondary is going to take to what Vic Fangio's bringing to the table. I think we're ready. I think Keely Ringo's ready. Sidney Brown's going to be ready, on top of Q and Coop and anybody else that they're going to bring back there. I think the secondary is going to be as advertised. The linebacker is going to be as advertised. The defensive line is going to be as advertised. So we got everything set up to running back, or at least make the run for it, But to your point, cautious enthusiasm till actually see a couple preseason games, and we can make it to week 4 in the regular season. Then we can start seeing what we got, seeing, is Jurgens going to be the next all-pro center, and the new guys stepping in, who's going to be at right guard, all of those questions can be answered, man. But I think we've set ourselves up. I think Howie Roseman did the damn thing again in the draft. And I think the Eagles are going to be ready to rock and roll. And we are on top of the mountain. We are on top of the mountain. The only thing I don't like, referring to the schedule, is I don't even want to see the Cowboys. I don't want the Cowboys to get any piece of our shine when we get in our rings, dropping our banners. None of that. I don't even want them to be in town. You know what I'm saying? Let them look from a distance. So, but we got them, deal with them, and we'll see what's what.
I think that's me. I think that's where me and you are a little different.
You want that ass?
I'm a little.
You want to bust that ass?
I'm a little bit more disrespectful.
I ain't mad at you.
You know what I mean? Like don't get me wrong. I respect this game a lot. I respect this game a lot, and I always tread very carefully, especially when I talk about players, when I talk about injuries, when I talk about just the business. I try to tread lightly, but while also still being honest and being concrete about the way this thing is.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, Marcus. I can't see myself being where you are or standing where you're standing when it comes to where I want the Cowboys to be or how I want to handle that situation. I'm sorry. I want these boys front row and center.
That takes years of experience, bro. I
want these. My wife tells me all the time, Tone, you got to stop being an asshole sometimes. Sometimes you could just be so petty, so vindictive. Why do you always feel the need to punish people? And the thing is, I don't know what it is. It's in my DNA. I like to put belt to ass any chance I can.
Belt to asses.
So I want them boys front and center.
You know what? I ain't mad
front
at that.
And center.
I want them to see. You say that, I'm starting to change my mind because they already got rookies talking shit.
I want them to see what new greatness looks like. I want them to see something that they ain't seen in years and decades.
Yeah, man.
I want all them boys to realize that there's levels to this thing. And as long as Jalen Hurts is in the NFC East, as long as the Philadelphia Eagles are doing what they do, the Cowboys will never have a chance. They never gonna have a shot. I want Jerry Jones to live forever. I want Jerry Jones to be immortal. I want him to find the fountain of youth.
Oh no.
I want the Jones family to always be in control. You feel what I'm saying? It's
you want to keep the tours by the weight room going on down there.
I want
all of that circus.
I want them boys. I'm so glad. It's so funny because week 1, I thought we would have the Rams. I thought that would be a real box office matchup, especially given how close that divisional round was.
Yeah, and plus get the long road trip out of the way early.
Yeah, I thought that would sell a lot of tickets too. I felt like a lot of people would really be excited to see that. I think the Rams are one of the fastest up and coming teams in the league. I think the Rams are going to be really good this year, but it all depends where Stafford is another year deeper into his career. This could be his last season. You never know. But
exactly,
I thought we would have the Rams. Right, I know. Amon-Ra St. Brown talked about the Detroit Lions. Listen. We ain't even paying the Detroit Lions no mind.
Everybody want a piece.
Somebody thought the Commanders would be a good matchup, right? Listen, they not even ready for this yet. We saw how bad that looked. but the league decided to capitalize on the NFC East rivalry. They know the Dallas Cowboys because of simply the logo, because of the prestige that the organization has had, even though they haven't really shown that over the past 20 plus, nearly 30 years. They haven't really shown that they've been that team in quite some time, but the logo still cashes in. For some reason, there's still a lot of holes left to be punched on that card, on that ticket.
Right.
For some reason, but it is what it is. And the Eagles are Super Bowl champions. So, that's a box office matchup no matter how you want to slice it. The Cowboys do bring a certain level of PR. And also they just made that move for George Pickens. It's going to be a very exciting game. People want to see George Pickens live front and center. You know what I mean? It's going to be that might be the most watched game of the year. It's very possible.
Oh, absolutely. That's out the gate. The NFL wasn't stupid in schedule.
Yeah. So I completely understand getting the Cowboys week 1. I'm not mad at it. As a matter of fact, I love it. Get one of those divisional games out the way. You know what I'm saying? And I'm looking forward to it. I think the one thing I'm looking forward to the most, I'm curious to see how that Cowboys offensive line transitions. They've lost Zack Martin, right? What's my man name? Teron. Who was their star left tackle? He just retired. Wow. Why am I forgetting his name all of a sudden?
Not Lawrence.
He spent his last season somewhere else. Why am I forgetting his name? He's a future Hall of Famers. Chat, help me out. Who was their star left tackle? I forget his name. But he retired. And Tyron Smith. That's what it was.
Oh, okay.
Tyron Smith.
Okay.
Tyron Smith, he didn't play his final season in Dallas. But they lost Zack Martin. So I'm curious to see just where their offensive line transitions to. Now that they lost 2 of their Hall of Fame guys, they still got Tyler Guyton. They still have Tyler Smith. Now they got this kid Tyler Booker. They got 3 Tylers on their offensive line. They got Terrence Steele at right tackle. They got Cooper BB at center. So that offensive line is young, developing, and up and coming. I think their offensive line has potential to be good.
Yeah, but they got to take a few lefts.
That part. Tyler Booker hit, brother. Slow, pump the brakes.
Slow your roll,
Pump the brakes. You know what I mean? You got to deal with Jalen Carter and JD and them boys. Relax.
Yeah. And whatever you may have done in college don't matter.
Exactly.
This is a whole other level. And I love it. We talked about this the same time when we got to the playoffs. Remember last year when the narrative was all of these other teams got better. And they talked about the Eagles like the Eagles were just standing still. And to me, it seems like this is the same thing. You got these players that talk shit about what they did in college, mistake number 1. And number 2, you act like Jalen Carter and our defense has just been standing still and have not gotten better. Have you been paying attention? Because clearly you've been running your mouth. And sometimes some people can't listen and talk at the same time. So you got to be careful with that. And, everybody has receipts. So you already know when week 1 come around, this dude's comments on Twitter or wherever he said what he said, that's going to be front page everywhere. They're going to be talking about it on every sports talk show, on the radio, social media. That's going to be everywhere. And it's all coming to him. You can't spread that around. You can't give it to Dak. The vets can't come in and talk about we. It's like, nah, this is coming square at you. And if you don't handle it, man, they're going to be coming for that ass all year long.
Yeah. And, for the record, just speaking about, again, that Cowboys offensive line, I mean, again, they're young. They're still developing. They're up and coming. But to be frank about it, I mean, they were very flawed in 2024. I mean, Terrence Steele gave up 9 sacks. Cooper Beebe gave up 3 sacks. Tyler Smith gave up 2. Tyler Guyton gave up 6. we're talking left tackle and right tackle. Your left tackle gave up 6 sacks, and your right tackle gave up 9 sacks. Right? Let's take it a step further. Tyler Guyton had 18 penalties. 18 penalties in 2024. Terrence Steele, 7 penalties. You know, Tyler Smith had 9. Guyton had 18. Cooper Beebe had 3. Cooper Beebe was their best offensive lineman all year, their most consistent probably. And then, you know, Tyler Smith, you know, outside of the penalties, you know, him and Beebe were the upside of that offensive line at guard and center. But you got a new guy coming in at right guard. You got a left tackle and a right tackle who have been very inconsistent.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
our defensive line has gotten better.
You can make an argument for that. You can make an argument we got deeper.
Yeah, absolutely got deeper. So now it's Moro Jomo's time to shine. We're gonna see what the young kid has, a young local kid, but ain't nobody found a way to stop Nolan Smith, and nobody can stop Jalen Carter.
But here's the thing, though. What if someone says to you, "Hey, Marcus, what do you mean the Eagles' defensive line got better? They lost Josh Sweat and they lost Milton Williams. How did they get better? BG retired. How did they get better?" What's your answer to
that? Basically, the only thing you can say is wait and see. Because at the end of the day, you know what? I use the Zack Baun logic. You got Ojomo back there. You already saw what Jalen Hunt did, right? And you talking about guys that really didn't get a lot of snaps. But every time they got the opportunity, they made the most of the opportunity. So know that they have a lot of tackles, a lot of sacks, hurries. The stats ain't going to be through the roof because they didn't get that many snaps. But when they got on the field, they made things happen. So, and not to mention, and I know everybody's down on them, but until we get rid of Bryce Huff, you know, Bryce Huff is still somebody you got to at least know where he is on the field because, man, he didn't get all them sacks. He didn't just luck into all of them sacks with the Jets. That did not happen. So now, here's how I look at it with Huff, because I know he's like iffy. A lot of people think he's a bust. I don't. And a lot of people are looking at what happened last year, and I'm like, just throw last year out the window. Right now, you got Vic Fangio that's had this kid for a whole year, and I'm going to assume that now Vic Fangio knows exactly what he wants to do with him. If we don't keep him, we don't keep him. But you don't just throw away that type of production. You don't do it. You saw what he did with Mekhi Becton when they was ready to throw him out with the bathwater. Nah, we got them type of coaches that can look deeper and find what they need to find. And I think they're going to do that with Huff. And a lot of people don't, I guess they just forget or just, you know, selective amnesia. But Huff was playing well until he hurt his wrist.
I am willing to roll with you and say Huff was starting to figure it out for sure.
Yes, he was.
He was starting to figure it out. I would definitely roll with that.
And now he's got help, a lot of help.
Yeah, what I will also throw into that equation, and this more so falls in line with people who fall in our favor with Huff, because like you, until further notice, he's on his roster.
Yeah,
until further notice. So I'm assuming he's going to be a part of this rotation. But when you think about his production this season and you compare it to his career, this season that just passed is more on par with who he's been rather than that 2023 10-sack season.
That's fair. But again, I'm gonna rely on the coaches that we have that have shown the last 3 seasons that they can take players and figure it out. Because now, whatever you think of Bryce Huff has no pressure on him. He already paid.
That's a good point.
He ain't playing for a contract. He playing for a position. So even if, okay, so let's say he becomes the backup. So now you got to look at what's our rotation look like. Are we going to have a whole nother NASCAR package coming in? We always got fresh legs coming in now.
Yeah.
And then do we have a Jalen Carter heir apparent with Ty Robinson? Do we have a Nolan Smith heir apparent with Jihad? And not to mention, Jihad is going to be a hybrid piece.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I see Jihad being a guy because on the depth chart, they have him on the depth chart. They have him behind the Kobe Dean, right?
Yes.
Now,
We're going to be moving that kid all over the place.
I think Jihad's skill set it far exceeds just playing the traditional Mike linebacker position. I think his skill set far exceeds that. I think he's somebody who kind of can be moved around and do quite a few things for you. Rush the pass, blitz through the A gap, drop back in coverage, run side of the sideline, and diagnose those screen passes in open space. Jihad Campbell is a guy who's going to be very, very interesting to watch and how they deploy him. We may not see him until maybe week 4, week 5, but he's somebody that's going to be very intriguing to watch because you got Nolan Smith. Let's just say your rotation on the edge is Nolan Smith, Jalix Hunt, Antoine Powell-Ryland, Azeez Ojulari, and Bryce Huff somewhere sprinkled in there. You throw in Jihad Campbell and just move him around, allow him to – because if you remember how they use Zach Baun,
yeah,
I got a feeling we're going to see Jihad Campbell used like that.
Yeah.
Because Zach Baun was doing a lot on that defense.
Yep.
Go ahead, please go.
I was going to say, just look at Zach Baun and Micah Parsons.
You saw Baun on the edge. You saw it was situations where you saw Baun come up on the line of scrimmage, and you see 5 guys on the line, and all of a sudden you see Nolan drop back or Jalen Hunt drop back, and Zach Baun is the one rushing. Like it was just various scenarios where you saw Baun just being used on so many different situations, which allowed his skill set and which allowed his versatility to shine.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think again, you got another year under Vic Fangio. So now he knows what he has, he knows what he doesn't have, and most importantly, he knows what not to do with certain players. That's a big thing because you still get coaches that'll keep trying to stick that square peg in a round hole. Just I got to make this player fit my system rather than make your system fit their talent. And our defensive coaches have figured that out. Howie has figured that out. How many years did we go where we would bitch, moan, and complain because Howie wouldn't draft linebackers? And not only did he hit it out the park, he hit it out the park twice.
Yeah.
You took a special teams guy, made him an all-pro. Then you end up getting the best linebacker in the draft. Damn.
A guy you was trying to trade up to get, he ended up falling to you anyway.
Anyway, so I just think that it is very apropos that we're talking about run it back. Because like we said, a couple shows ago, we didn't have to look for playmakers. We was looking for depth, and we got both. Ty Robinson, when we got him, he was a much bigger draft prospect than where he fell.
Yeah. You bring up a good point.
Was Nolan Smith all over again. Nobody thought we would get Nolan Smith. The last 3 drafts, when we got Nolan Smith and Jalen Carter, when we got Quinyon and Cooper, and then this year we got Jihad and Ty Robinson.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm with you on that. Like, I'm super excited to see what the next step looks like for a guy like Nolan Smith in particular. Right now, obviously he has to bounce back off of the surgery, but I think he'll be ready. But I think he's a guy. First of all, he got stronger from year 1 to year 2, and the way he plays the game, the mentality he plays with, we know he's not going to take any days off in terms of getting back on track and so on and so forth, and just developing. He's going to put in the mental reps, things of that nature, and I'm super excited to see what Nolan Smith does because I think Nolan Smith, with his skill set, and with getting more snaps now that BG and Josh Sweater out of the picture, I think Nolan Smith is a guy who can definitely become a perennial 10-sack guy for you.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, in my opinion, Nolan Smith basically just took the baton from Hassan Reddick. And we figured out Nolan Smith faster than we figured out Hassan Reddick. So I look at that famous line that what's his name? What was the DC down in Arizona now? When he said, you know, I got to
the DC for Arizona is Nick Rallis,
the head coach for Arizona now.
Oh, Jonathan Gannon.
Jonathan Gannon, thank you. When he said, you know, he could have had more sacks if I would have stopped dropping him in the coverage. Why'd you drop him in the coverage in the first place? You trying to fit, you know what his specialty is, and this is why I'm not sold on Huff being a bust for this reason right here. You knew what his skill set was, but you tried to have him do something that he just wasn't good. You knew exactly what he was.
But here's the thing.
Exactly what he was in Carolina. We knew what he was in Arizona, but it took him a while to figure that out, and they almost wasted his career.
You know, the Huff part is so interesting to me because, you know, you sign a guy, right? Or you sign a guy in free agency. You watch the tape and you see how he got busy. You see how he got to the quarterback. And, you know, before you sign a guy, you have conversations. You think about fit. You think about how you're going to deploy him. I'm sure all those things come into the conversation. And I felt like the Eagles had some thought in their mind that this guy is going to be able to do more than what he has done.
Yeah.
Or take it up a notch, right?
Yeah.
He's going to be a guy that can not only just rush with his hand in the dirt, but can be multiple. A guy that not only is rushing out of a 4-point or 3-point stance, but maybe we can stand him up. Maybe we can get a little freaky, right? And he just wasn't able to grasp that. And that was something that was talked about leading up to the season. They asked him. You know, he was asked about, hey, you know, you're used to doing it like this. And Fangio normally likes to do things like this. You know, what's your comfortability level? And he was asked that multiple times. Fangio was asked it about him multiple times. And, you know, Fangio's going to give his typical Fangio answer.
Yeah.
But Bryce Huff was like, you know, I feel like I can do anything. I feel like I can do this. I can do that. And it just didn't materialize. He couldn't do it to the point where he was unplayable in the playoffs. They didn't even play him.
Yeah, it was.
They didn't play him.
Now, and I will say this because it is fair and valid criticism. Now, there was a couple games where he looked like hot garbage.
Because you say to yourself, are the Eagles wrong for betting on the player developing with the money, or is Bryce Huff wrong for not being able to take that next step, knowing he got the money? Who's wrong?
I don't think anybody wrong. I just think that's just the way it works out sometimes.
Or how do you shift? You know what, we're in such blame culture. Let me not even go there. But it's just it's almost like what came first, chicken or the egg, right? Like how do you diagnose this symptom, this problem that occurred with Bryce Huff in 2024?
I just look at it. I try to keep it simple, right? He was looking markedly better before he got hurt. Then when he got hurt, Jalen Hunt happened. So this is a results-based business. So if you're not getting the results, lead a guy in that's getting the results.
Which says a lot about Hunt. I mean, it says a lot about Jalen Hunt.
Jalen Hunt, correct.
He earned Fangio's trust pretty quickly.
Absolutely. So now you got a player in the back. Don't think for a second that he still don't want to be out there on that field. So what is he looking at? Like I said earlier, now he's watching Huff. Now he's watching Smith. Now I know what not to do. So it's not like he's just been standing still. There is a lesson in loss. There is a lesson in failure. And he got to go into them film sessions. When I watched him come off the edge and fall to the ground before he even reached the tackle, I was like, ooh, this boy he's stealing money. He had to go in the film room and watch that play.
I saw a tight end kill him.
Yeah. He had to go to film room and watch that play. So when you're in the film room, that means you got to watch. Vic Fangio going to let him have it. That's one of them plays where they'll run it back 30 times. You could have had a perfect game, and if that was your one mistake, they're going to run that one mistake back 30 damn times. But that's where you learn because, you know, the big guy in the sky don't lie. All your failures, all your warts are there for everybody to see. And everybody on that defense is looking at him as like, this is what we get, and this is how much we paying him.
Can you blame the Eagles for drafting the way they did?
No, not at all. But my point, I'm trying to focus this specifically on Huff, simply to say, I say all of that simply to say he does not want to be in this situation. So to me, we got another person with a chip on their shoulder. Because now we got somebody that's saying, I'm gonna show you why I did what I did 2 years ago. I'm gonna show you why I got all of them sacks in New York.
You're shifting the perspective. You're shifting the hourglass a little bit. Like you're shifting the lens, and you're saying, okay, I'm choosing to look at it through this prism rather than this angle. And I get that. And I would like to lean more on that side with you. I would like to lean more on that side, but when you factor in the bodies now, when you factor in the amount of bodies now, he's fighting a few battles. He's fighting a battle on a few different fronts.
But that's what you want. That's exactly what you want. Pressure's gonna do one or two things, right? Bust pipes and make diamonds. So now you gotta show up. And again, having somebody with a chip on their shoulder, I'm gonna show you why I'm making this money. I'm gonna show you, and all of that. The worst thing in the world is when you got a guy in the locker room making all of that money and he getting his ass whooped.
Did you see his body language and his face throughout the season? Did you ever just notice Huff, like when things was going on?
Yes.
Like whenever a play was being made or he's on the field, it's like it just seemed like he wasn't involved.
Yeah,
like he didn't look like somebody that was in a good situation.
Correct. It is very easy to tell. A good analogy for that, because you see it easier in basketball. When somebody, I'll use this as an example because I cover the WNBA. I've seen them games where Caitlin Clark hasn't been on and her body language sucks. It's written all over her face. You can see the same thing. You see it in action because you don't necessarily see their face, but you can see their action when they get, when they act a certain way. If they're just involved in the play, you didn't make a play, you didn't do anything, but you want to look like you involved. Keep this in mind because you see it all the time, right? Watch how many guys on defense, when they get to a certain point, if they haven't done anything or people might think they're a bust, this, that, or the other, watch how many guys, after a tackle is made and the play is damn near over, you see these guys coming in late, jumping over the pile, all of that type of stuff. Just to say because when you're in practice, the one thing they tell you in practice, get to the ball, get to the ball, get to the ball, get to the ball. Swarm the ball. We want to be a swarming defense. Everybody get to the ball. That's a drill you run in practice. And if you're not even close to the play, somebody will be sprinting over there and trying to jump over the pile or something like that just so you can be seen. But you ain't did a damn thing.
Right.
And they see that on tape. That's where you don't want to be because everybody be looking at you like, really, dude? Like, come on. And that's what you don't want. People think you a bust. People think you stealing money. And I'm telling you, the film sessions, that'll sober you up real quick. And that'll put you in your place because, and this is just me, I don't think he's a bust, but it is a very real possibility that he will be proven to be. And that's all on him.
Well, so, he has a favorable matchup though in week 1.
Absolutely. And
he got a favorable matchup in week 1.
Look at his competition. Jahad Campbell, Nolan Smith,
APR, Azeez Ojulari, Josh Uche.
You got major competition. You got major young boys coming in there for your job.
And Azeez, they playing for money. Josh Uche, they playing for their football. Some of these guys are playing for their football futures.
Exactly. Everybody want that payday. Because now, and this is the thing where Howie said things might look a little different because now we are in a situation. I think we talked about this before. Howie said we are drafting players to be starters, not role players. So if you drafted,
he said that particularly on day 3. He said that particularly on day 3. Yeah, you're right.
So what that means is if you're drafting somebody to be a starter, that means somebody losing their job. Somebody's losing their job.
Or somebody ain't getting paid.
Man, I don't want to be the guy where they knocking on my door talking about coach want to see you. Bring your playbook.
Yeah. No, you're right about that. I mean, look, this defensive line, we've waxed poetic about it, right? We've broken it down. I think the edge rusher competition is going to be phenomenal. The D tackle position is in much better shape than people want to give it credit for. I think the Eagles' defensive line has a favorable matchup in Week 1, an extremely favorable matchup in Week 1. I look at this Cowboys offensive line and I'm not impressed. They've lost pedigree. They've lost some of that. They've lost some of that aura, if you ask me. Tyler Guyton didn't have a promising rookie season, but that doesn't mean he won't get better in year 2.
Right.
That doesn't mean he won't get better. Right. But
what was the other guy? Maisie? Is Maisie Smith?
You're talking about Maisie Smith?
Yeah.
He's a D tackle they drafted, I think, in the first or second round 2 years ago, and he hasn't done anything. He got benched a couple times.
A lot of hype. Lift like Tarzan, play like Jane.
Now, let me see if I got this right here. Hold on. So, Maisie Smith, he's, as of right now, they have him as the nose tackle, starting at nose tackle. He came in 2023. He was drafted in the first round, 26th overall. And
I'll see you, bull.
And the other guy, Osa, that just got paid, he was drafted in 2021, third round, and they gave him a good chunk of change.
Yeah.
So you look at Maisie Smith, you look at Osa, it's like, hold away, Maisie, he was a first round pick. Osa was a third round pick. And
what does that
and he showed that he could play on some level. Maisie Smith has been unimpressive.
Yeah.
And they also lost DeMarcus Lawrence. So now you're hoping for Dante Fowler Jr. to show you something. They did draft a player that I like. I will admit this. The Cowboys drafted one of my favorite prospects, Donovan Izaraku.
And I hate that he went to Dallas.
I think he's going to be a player.
I hate that he went to Dallas because he seems to me like the person that will do,
like an adult in the room, right?
That he looks like the person that will do what Micah Parsons should have done.
What you mean?
Because I remember, this is before I met you. I remember saying, and I've been looking for this. I've been looking for the show where I said it because I want to repost it. Where I said, if Micah Parsons just plays football and doesn't drink the Kool-Aid, Dallas is going to be a problem. That defense is going to be a problem. And a couple months later was when he went on Vaughn Miller's podcast, and when he said the shit about Jalen Hurts, and that just started an avalanche of stuff. After that, he had the podcast, and then he started talking. And I was like, nope, he done drunk the Kool-Aid. Now he got a podcast, and he talking about his players. And then,
you know how difficult it is?
You see the reactions of the draft and stuff, man. And it's like, you drank the Kool-Aid, dude. All you had to do was shut up and play, and everybody would have followed him. That's the thing. Everybody would have followed him because they got. Let's be real. I'm not.
You cooking right now? You cooking right now?
Dallas has some players down there, but the people that are supposed to be leading that team ain't leading the team. They involved in the bullshit. They own veterans, and people that have left the teams are telling the T on that one. Now that they got that kid from Boston College, he gonna do what Micah Parsons was supposed to do.
The corner, Jordan Lewis, I think he played for the Jags now.
Yep.
He spilled the tea on that team.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Doris Lawrence, he spilled the tea on that team. I mean,
everybody ain't lying.
You cooking because Micah Parsons, he has the talent to match whatever else he does. So if he would have went in that building and just played football, been all business, you know what I mean?
All he had to do was just play ball.
Been militant about his position, just been a soldier.
Yeah.
He probably could have shifted that culture. He could have shifted that culture.
Micah Parsons is the guy. Micah Parsons would have overtaken Dak. He would have overtaken Dak.
Because clearly Dak's personality, although he may be a professional, although he may not be a guy that gets in trouble, he's somebody that you think you can follow. Dak Prescott clearly is not enough to shift the culture in Dallas, because I think when you factor in the fact that he hasn't been able to do anything in the playoffs, it's hard to follow him but so far.
Listen, Micah Parsons is the best player on the team for right now. But the whole leadership thing, and I ain't got no problem in saying this. That is why Jalen Hurts is that good. Period. Y'all know my logic. For the people that don't think Jalen Hurts is a good quarterback, blah, 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 whatever. Y'all can keep having that argument for as long as you want. You can put anybody in front of him for as long as you want, and I will listen to you have those arguments while I am shining rings.
I'm taking my guy over anybody. Because I look at Dak, and I say to myself, I feel like Dak would thrive outside of Dallas.
Yes.
I honestly believe, but for some reason, I feel like Dak would be a much more successful quarterback outside of Dallas. It's something about that. See, I think Dak and Micah
down there, man.
Dak and Micah have Dave. How can I put this? They've drunken the Kool-Aid, but they drank it from two different punch bowls.
Yeah,
okay, follow me here. Micah has drunken the Kool-Aid from the punch bowl that has given him this ego, this bravado, this.
Well, no, he earned that.
No. Listen,
he earned that.
I'm excluding like the talent, right?
Right. Okay.
We know Dak is talented. We know Micah's talented. He's been productive. We get that, right? But you said it yourself. He drank the Kool-Aid. And he hasn't been able to shift that culture. He complains about it so much, but he's a part of the problem.
Exactly.
And when I say they've drunk from two different punch bowls, what I mean is the Kool-Aid is affecting them differently. The Kool-Aid is affecting Mike. The Kool-Aid is affecting Micah in such a way where, although he's talented, he's believing his own hype a little too much. He's believing the Cowboy hype a little too much. He's falling into the trap where, sound bites and making a spectacle and just trying to be the rah-rah guy where people kind of see through it a little bit. Like it's not matching. Whereas though the Kool-Aid is affecting Dak in this way. For some reason, he can't carry the pressure that comes with that organization. That organization is such a distraction. It affects him in the playoffs. It's obvious at this point. It's so obvious. How does somebody who's had the seasons he's had, who's had the success he's had statistically, and he looks how he looks in the playoffs? Something's not adding up. So that's why I think they're both drinking the Kool-Aid, but the punch bowls, it's affecting them differently.
Yeah. The two, in my opinion, and I have affinity for these type of players for obvious reasons. The best pickup they had in the last couple of years was Kevontae Turpin, in my opinion. I got a thing.
I like him, by the way.
With the UF, he was the MVP in the UFL. I got affinity for that from my time in the World League. You know what I'm saying? So I love to see guys like that finally get a shot. And when he stepped on the field, he took care of business. He almost beat us single-handedly a few times. And every time that kid gets his hands on the ball, you don't know what's going to happen. He is this era's Dante Hall, but they just don't give him the ball enough. They don't give him the ball enough. When he took that kickoff return back where it dribbled down to him, then he picked it up and spun around and took. I was like,
yeah, in that Commanders game, right? Yeah, that's crazy.
Man, that's what everybody.
I saw that live. I was like, what?
But here's my thought: when you got somebody with that type of speed on your team, and clearly, if you watch his tape from when he was in the UFL, he wasn't just a special teamer. He was the main receiver, so he can get it done when you put the ball in his hands. And I look at Dallas like, how come you ain't putting the ball in his hands? What's the problem? And what to me was, and I don't want to spend too much time on Dallas, but they ain't
because I definitely want to talk to you about Chicago. And
they still haven't figured that out.
Yeah,
they still want to, in my opinion, they still want Dak to throw for for 4,500, 5,000 yards. They want to look pretty rather than win. And again,
That's why
I'll say it again. That's why Jalen Hurts does what he does.
That's
So
why
y'all
I
can
can't
have
take
the
the George
stats.
Pickens trade seriously.
Man, y'all keep your stats. Y'all keep all of that other nonsense. The one thing Jalen Hurts has done is change the narrative of what a quarterback needs to do to win.
You hear all these young quarterbacks coming in talking about that's what I want to be like.
Exactly.
I want to be like Hurts,
Exactly.
Jackson Dart, Jalen Milroe. All these young quarterbacks saying that's why I'm out on my game after.
You do what you got to do. If you got to run, you run. If you got to throw, you throw. And for whatever reason, it seems like the whole NFL just forgot about Jalen Hurts being able to throw the ball. Like, he came out of college and couldn't throw. Did you see the kid his last year in Oklahoma?
He was a high. That's why it's so funny to me. Like, he was a Heisman Trophy runner-up. Like, the only reason he didn't win it is because Burrow had like an unprecedented season. But other than that, I mean, he would have won that, But nonetheless, like you, although it's difficult for me. Well, you say all the time, you want to you ignore the Hurts conversations. You honestly ignore them. It is difficult for me sometimes. So sometimes my ego get involved. I'll be honest with you. But regardless, though, it's a situation where, overall, and this will be my last word on the Cowboys as well. They've routinely gotten in their own way.
Yes.
And
I don't see why this year is going to be any different.
I don't see why it's going to be. If anything, I feel like they've added more landmines to this season.
With a rookie head coach.
You got a rookie head coach. You got Dak Prescott who's coming in with probably more pressure than ever. You got Micah Parsons coming in a contract year who hasn't gotten paid yet. His agency is at odds with the Jones family. You made a trade for George Pickens, the league known crash dummy, the walking crash out himself.
Pause right there real quick.
Who's also in the contract year. Who's also being represented by the agency that Micah Parsons is being represented by.
Thank you. And if you can't get along with Mike Tomlin, if there's not a coach that is about players and about just his whole aura and how he goes about his business, if you can't get along with that dude,
yeah.
And now you going into the circus that is Dallas. So what's going to happen when you don't get as many catches? Now you're going to be beefing with CD?
I'm telling you, give it. Let Pickens have one too many games in a row where he only has like 5 targets, 6 targets, and CD has like 10, 11 targets. Just watch. Listen, he came in there talking about, I'm not looking for a contract. I'm just trying to prove that I can be a number one guy. Hold on, wait, time's out. So you brought a guy like that into Dallas who's in a contract year.
What? I don't know.
And you're not, and you're not one piece away.
No.
From winning a Super Bowl. That's the move you make. Like trading for him is the kind of move you make when you're honestly. If Green Bay would have did that, I would have been like, okay, all right,
exactly.
If Green Bay would have did that, that would have made sense to me. Who else? If the Rams already did it with Devontae. The Rams did it with Devontae, right? Devontae Parker. If the Commanders would have did it, I would be like, okay. All right, I can see it a little bit, even though I feel like they're probably a little bit more away. But if they would have did it, I would have saw it. If the Chiefs would have did it, I would be like, okay, I get it. If the Bills would have did it, the Ravens would have did it, I would have understood it. I look at the Cowboys and I say, you need much more than a 1-year rental for a wide receiver.
Correct.
You need more than and watch the Steelers turn that 3rd round pick into a Pro Bowler that they got. Mm-hmm. Watch. And
whatever advantages you had on either offense or defense, we've gotten better. Again, don't look at the Eagles like we've just been standing still. And at the end of the day, y'all playing for an owner who wouldn't even close the damn curtains to prevent the sun from. They knew it was a problem, and Jerry Jones didn't want to close the damn curtains so the sun wouldn't be in there.
Because he cares about the aesthetic.
He cares
about the aesthetic. And on top of that, they're not going to have Trevon Diggs. who's been dealing with a nagging knee injury ever since he tore his ACL. The word is we're unsure if we're going to see him in the 2025 season. And then, what's the ball?
Overshown, yeah.
He tore his ACL towards the end of the year.
Yeah. Now he was good when he was on the field.
He was a player that I think he was a diamond in the rough. When they found him, I said, he's gonna be a player. Now he tore ACL. Who's he going to be coming back from that now? You know, exactly. a guy who doesn't really have a lengthy history of being great and who was just starting to figure it out, that can offset that. He was on a trajectory, and now he's dealing with the injury. So now, not only does he have to recover from the injury, now he's contemplating his football future.
Yeah,
it's not like he had a contract to kind of rest his laurels on a little bit. Say, at least I'm paid. I ain't got to think about that. You know, these guys are humans, so he's thinking about recovering from the injury. He's thinking about playing on a rookie deal where he's like, okay, I gotta get healthy. I eventually want to get paid. Can I get back to form? Am I going to be the same guy? Trevon Diggs, at least he whacked the Cowboys for all that money. At least he could say, I'm paid. Generational wealth.
Yeah.
No stress.
I'll tell you what, man. It's when you look at everything in the macro, I can't help but just be in awe of everything that Howie Roseman has done for this organization. Because to say knock it out of the park in the draft is a gross understatement for what he's done the past 4 seasons. Gross understatement. Whatever formula, whatever it is, he done figured it out. He has figured it out. And he has continued to show that he has figured it out. So whatever he is doing, he knows what he's looking for. He is executing that plan. Everybody under him is executing that plan. And just like I like to say, you want everybody in that locker room facing the same direction with the same goal in mind. Everybody in them upper offices, from the scouts to assistant GMs, whatever, everybody is facing the same direction and they are on the same page. And it is paying dividends. And it has from the last 4 to 5 drafts. Ever since 27, really, if you're looking at 2015, because it took 2 years to get to 17, he's been on top of it. And can't nobody, they even had the jokes going on in the draft, like, hey, don't nobody want to take our deals. Don't nobody want to deal with us. And to be in a situation where you can truly run it back, barring anything, crazy, any type of injury or, everybody's always one play away, but still. We got mostly everybody healthy. Hated to lose Mekhi Becton, but he got paid. I ain't mad at him. But we got a replacement. And we got Jeff Stoutland. So we good on that regard.
Yeah, that's a good point. And they drafted very well for the position. They got a lot of bullets in the gun, man. They got a lot of guys on this roster on the offensive line that they're going to develop. It's going to be really exciting to see where that goes. We could talk more about that. But we also got the Bears on the schedule.
Yes.
The Bears are a very fascinating team to me. They hired Ben Johnson as their head coach.
Yep.
He was the OC for the Detroit Lions for, I believe, 3 years. And he's known as he's the latest new shiny toy in coaching circles right now. A lot of people are going to have all eyes on Ben Johnson and Caleb Williams. I think that's going to be one of the closely followed stories in the 2025 season. What Ben Johnson is able to do and get out of Caleb Williams, that's going to be really fascinating. They got Rome Odunze over there. They got DJ Moore. They got Cole Kmet. They also drafted, I think, was it Mason? They drafted that tight end.
Mason Taylor?
Is it Mason Taylor? They drafted
Mason Taylor.
I'm sorry. They drafted Colston Loveland. Colston Loveland out of Michigan, right?
Yes.
So they drafted tight end high in the draft. They still got Cole Kmet, a guy that they're paying big money at the position. So I think they look at Colston Loveland as somebody who probably has a higher ceiling than Cole Kmet. They're likely going to let Cole Kmet ride that contract out and then they'll just transition Colson Loveland. Or maybe they end up trading Cole Kmet at some point. Who never knows? But they did a lot of retooling on the offensive line. They brought in 3 free agents and completely revamped that interior. They brought in Joe Thuney, Super Bowl champion with the Patriots and with the Chiefs.
With the Chiefs, yep.
An all-pro. He's a Pro Bowler, Joe Thuney. But, I mean, Joe Thuney is somebody who got mollywopped in the Super Bowl.
Did he?
But he was playing out of position, in all fairness to him.
Correct.
He was playing out of position, in all fairness to him.
And they got our old buddy DeAndre Swift.
But Joe Thuney is somebody who is very good at what he does. Let's not pretend he's not. They also signed Drew Dalman. Drew Dalman is the former center. He's the former center for the Atlanta Falcons.
Yes.
Drew Dalman is somebody who has been very good in this league. He's coming off of a season in 2024 where he only played 9 games, unfortunately. He had an injury from week 3 to week 10, and then he came back. So Drew Dalman is a guy. Let me make sure I'm giving Drew Dalman his just due here, because he's somebody that's really good. He's getting paid a lot of money at that center position. Drew Dalman.
They got him listed as number 1 on the depth chart.
Yeah, he is. As of right now, he had a pretty decent season. Only gave up 2 sacks. Only had 3 penalties on the season. Granted, played 9 games, but had a 78.8 overall grade from PFF, a 79.8 run blocking grade, 66.6 pass blocking grade. So he's starting caliber for sure.
Right.
So they completely revamped that center position. And then at right guard, they brought in Jonah Jackson. Jonah Jackson is a guy who formerly played with he's a Pro Bowler. And Jonah Jackson, he spent the first 4 years of his career with Detroit, then played his 5th season in 2024 with the Los Angeles Rams at guard. He only played 4 games. He suffered an injury and basically was in and out of the lineup. So he's somebody who's looking to bounce back. But overall, the Chicago Bears have done a lot to try to repair and reload that offensive line and give Caleb Williams a shot in the dark. They're trying to give him a shot. And I like what they've done. Remember, they got Darnell Wright. I think they drafted Darnell Wright last season, 2 years ago, something like that. They drafted Darnell Wright in the first round. So that offensive line has promise. They have promise, and he has weapons, right? They drafted Luther Burden, the 3rd, the slot receiver. They signed Olamide Zaccheaus. So that offense, in theory, DeAndre shipped that running back. They got parts. Yeah, and in theory, that Bears offensive line, in theory, that Bears offense should be top 10.
In theory.
That should be a top 10 offense. Top 10, top 12. It should be. Just based off the talent, adding in Ben Johnson into the equation, right? The new whiz kid, the new shiny toy in the league. That offense, in theory, should be top 10. So it all remains to be seen what Caleb Williams does with the revamped offensive line.
Yes, it's all in the trenches as usual. It's all in the trenches as usual, because last year he was running for his life. And let me be honest with you, I was feeling some kind of way about Chicago just because of what they did to what's the name? The QB they had from O State.
Justin
Fields.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
That young fella running for his damn life, and then they got rid of him, and then they want to change everything up. I'm like, if you would have gave him any type of offensive line,
any kind of support,
the kid was talented as hell, and he was 6'3", 6'4", whatever he is. They just gave up on him, and I was like, you know what, man, screw y'all. That's the part of the game, man, where I'll be hating it, because it's like you put so many expectations on this kid, and you don't give him no help, none. You kept Eberflus in there, and he just made him worse and worse and worse.
To be honest with you, to your point, they honestly should have fired Eberflus.
Yes,
before they drafted Caleb Williams, they should have fired him that offseason, because I'm of the mindset, if I'm really resetting this thing and I'm going new franchise quarterback, I want to have a head coach where they're tied at the hip.
Yeah.
I want to bring in new head coach, new GM, new quarterback. I want that all to be seamless. If anything, new head coach and new quarterback for sure. I want that to be symbiotic. So my guy, my new quarterback, isn't inheriting bad habits from a terrible head coach who's fighting for his job, who's going to make desperate decisions.
Yeah, and it wasn't even close. It wasn't even close. And he was so detrimental to that team, and the opportunities that you get, even as a top draft pick, at the end of the day, those opportunities are limited. And for them to waste the whole year that young kid's career from that nonsense Eberflus was doing when Chicago knew they were going to get rid of him, and they just didn't pull the trigger early enough. So you basically wasted him for a year. You was hoping for a miracle somehow. So I'm like, you know what? Y'all get what y'all get. Y'all get what y'all get. So now you do this rebuild, and you still don't know what you have. You got a lot of good pieces, but sometimes you need a little bit more than that. So we'll see.
Yeah, no, you're right. The Bears are in a very interesting situation, even in their division, because they got to deal with Detroit, and Ben Johnson is very familiar, obviously, with the personnel over there. But they got to deal with Detroit, got to deal with Green Bay and Minnesota. The NFC North is going to be competitive again this year, and I think the Bears have I got this feeling the Lions going to take a step back this year.
I agree.
I got this feeling the Lions going to. I think the Bears can win this division.
I agree.
I think they can. Now, granted, Green Bay is right there. I think the winner of this division is either going to be Green Bay or Chicago. I think Detroit. How many games they won? 15 this past season. They won 15 games.
Yeah.
They won 15 games. Okay, so Detroit won 15, Minnesota won 14, Green Bay won 11, Chicago won 5. I got a feeling Detroit is going to fall to maybe 11 wins this year. Maybe 11, 10 wins this year.
I can see that. They'll still make the playoffs, but
I got a weird feeling about that.
I agree.
Because they're literally, we've seen what overhauling the coaching staff did to Nick Sirianni and Jalen Hurts and all them guys, right? We saw what that did. You lost Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn. And Dan Campbell was insulated perfectly.
Yeah.
So now we're going to see where Dan Campbell's coaching chops really are.
An interesting stat to look up would be teams with a winning record, or I guess you could say teams with a winning record, because let's just assume that those teams went to the playoffs. What was their record the following year after they lost a coordinator?
That's
be it defense or offense.
That's that ESPN level of a Rolodex.
Yeah.
You gotta have that ESPN search engine.
I would like to look at it because I think about San Francisco didn't have much of a fall off. They had a little bit, but not much when your boy left for the Texans.
What are you talking about?
DeMarco.
DeMeco
Ryans.
DeMeco Ryan, excuse me.
Yeah.
DeMeco Ryans. Because you know with San Fran, because they transitioned from, it was Robert Saleh, then it was DeMeco Ryan, then it had Steve Wilkes.
Yes.
And then Steve Wilkes got railroaded, and then they brought back Robert Saleh, and then they had somebody else.
Yep.
And then they're going to bring Robert Saleh's back in the building now.
Yep. But they haven't had, and it's funny, man, and this is where you got to tip your hat to the Eagles again, regardless of what people say. And you look at all of them teams that was supposed to be all that in the bag of chips, and when they had their opportunity, they couldn't get it done. Detroit couldn't get it done. Detroit got beat at home by Washington. Stop playing with me. Y'all got to make up some ground. So I agree with you that they're not going to be as good because they losing key coaches.
That's a bad loss.
Coaching matters.
That's the kind of loss, in my opinion, that's the kind of loss that can carry over. That was a bad loss.
Detroit had 2 opportunities to go to the Super Bowl and they blew it both times. The Ravens had 2 opportunities to go to the Super Bowl and they blew it both times. The same way. They blew them both the same way. Detroit got greedy and they kept gambling and then they crapped out. I don't know what Lamar Jackson and the Ravens, I can't really blame that on Lamar. The only thing he did was throw the ball to his tight ends and hit him in the hands. It ain't his fault the dude dropped the ball. You don't practice drops in practice.
Yeah, I mean, that you know, the Lamar conversation is interesting to me because he put the ball there. Mark Andrews has to make that catch.
And then the year before,
but this has been his MO. This has been his MO, man. This has just been his MO. Like,
but think about it. The year before, didn't he hit a receiver and the receiver fumble, and they ended up losing the ball?
I don't know.
Like, I gotta go back and look at it, but it was a turnover somewhere. But I guess my point is that he put the ball where it needed to be, and his receivers failed him both years. Now he talked all of that stuff about he was going to run a little bit more, and he never did it. And then we went up there and we busted that ass, and he couldn't run because we was too fast for him. But the Ravens should have been in the Super Bowl at least one time the last 3 years, and they can't get it done.
Well, here's their problem. I feel like too often they get away from their identity when that pressure gets hot. That falls on Lamar. That falls on Harbaugh. I put that on coach and quarterback. Because regardless.
Nah, I put that on. I got to put that on coach, because think about it like this: both years where they lost in the playoffs, both times they were like, Lamar, you got to run a little bit more. But if you run a little bit more and you don't get the win, get the first down, if you don't do what you got to do, well, he's trying to do it all himself, and he's passing up opportunities. Lamar put the ball where it was supposed to be. He did what he was supposed to do, and his receivers let him down.
Lamar has also had, I believe, in his playoff career. Let me make sure I got this right here. I don't want to misspeak.
I know you're gonna go with the picks.
it's not just the picks, but I'm gonna go. I just want to make sure I got this right. I'm not gonna shortchange him. In his playoff career, we're talking 10 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, and to take it a step further,
he ain't getting it done.
To take it a step, 10 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, and 7 fumbles.
Turning the ball over.
So
quickest way to get a ticket to Cancun.
So 10 touchdowns. And again, I want to make sure these are fumbles lost. I don't want to do them dirty.
Right.
I want to make sure these are fumbles lost. So my whole point is, like, Lamar Jackson is somebody who's talented. He's been on productive offenses and had productive defenses. He's had top 10 offenses. He's had top 10, top 5 defenses, right?
And when they get to the playoffs, they just shit the bed.
But you know what they say? They say, "Oh, his team not loaded like Jalen Hurts is." I'm like, hold on, wait, time's out. The names on the back of the jersey don't mean nothing if he ain't productive.
Yeah, and I don't understand why people use that.
So I don't buy into the whole, they got a super team, they talented. Well, we've seen teams that had names and they're not productive. At the end of the day, when whoever you got in that roster, are you productive? Are you productive? And they've been productive all year long. And the sad reality is, again, make sure I got this right here. Make sure I got this right.
Loaded team is a cop out, in my opinion, because that's what every franchise is trying to get, a loaded team. That's a cop out. And to your point, there's been plenty of loaded teams that couldn't get it done.
Yeah. So yeah, his fumble numbers are inconsistent on different platforms. So I'm just going to stick with the interceptions. 10 10 touchdowns, and 7 interceptions. I mean,
he turned the ball over. He put the ball on the ground way too much.
He threw an interception and fumbled in that divisional round game. You can't do that.
No, you can't.
Can't do that.
And what quarterback didn't turn the ball over in the Super Bowl? I can't remember.
Well, Hurts threw an interception, but regardless, they covered it up. Defense played well, but they covered it up. He did fumble in the 2022 Super Bowl. You know, this would call spade a spade. But
so that's 2 turnovers.
But overall though, to your point, Jalen Hurts is a guy who doesn't turn the ball over in the playoffs though.
Correct. I know what, as good as Patrick Mahomes is, he didn't throw a pick 6.
Yeah, and Jalen Hurts' playoff career, he has 10 touchdowns. He has 10 passing touchdowns and 3 interceptions.
Okay.
And he also has 5 rushing touchdowns and 1 lost fumble. So he has 15 total touchdowns and 4 turnovers in the playoffs compared to Lamar Jackson's. And again, not going to shortchange him.
Nope.
Lamar Jackson, he has 10 passing touchdowns in the playoffs, plus his rushing. Let's make sure we add that in too. I'm not going to shortchange him. He has only 3 rushing touchdowns in the playoffs, which is weird to me. So Lamar Jackson has 13 total touchdowns in the playoffs. He has, to my knowledge, 8 turnovers. He has 7 interceptions. I think a lost fumble in the previous playoff run. To Jalen Hurts' 15 playoff touchdowns and 4 turnovers.
I mean, the bottom line is ain't nobody paying attention to stats no more.
They pay attention to the ones they want to pay attention to when it suits them.
Right. So I look at it like this. Everybody outside of Philadelphia will take Lamar Jackson instead of Jalen Hurts. Everybody will take Josh Allen instead of Jalen Hurts. Everybody will take Patrick Mahomes. Everybody will take Matthew Stafford. Everybody will take Jared Goff. And you can insert whoever quarterback.
10. So 20. I'm sorry. My bad. Jalen Hurts has 20. He has 20 playoff touchdowns. This is my bad. He has 20 playoff touchdowns. That's 10 rushing, 10 passing, and he has 4 turnovers, 3 interceptions, and 1 lost fumble.
However you want to slice it, whatever you're looking for, whatever measure you want to use, it doesn't add up because at the end of the day, if we all talking about wins, if we all talking about we want to win the last game of the year. We want to make it to the playoffs and win the last game of the year. That's what you're trying to do. And there's only one team that can do it. We got dicked out of the opportunity in 22, but we made the most of it. We made up for it in spades last year. Not to mention that our quarterback outplayed the best in the business. That is not up for argument. Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback in the league right now. Point, period, in the paragraph. And we outplayed him both times. So that's got to mean something. But people, y'all go ahead and keep doubting him. You keep doubting him. All we got right now is a quarterback that has another year of experience, another year of winning, has galvanized that team even more by going all the way to the final game and winning and being an MVP. And we got all of these weapons coming back. And by the way, you still haven't figured out a way to kill that 4-headed snake. That's the Eagles offense. And now we got some more pieces of the puzzle. And you still ain't figured it out from last year. So whatever the excuse that people have, y'all keep it. Talk that talk. Until you figure out a way to stop them. And you can't do that yet. Not with that offensive line that we got.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. I just think the Eagles are in a prime situation. And I look at these other organizations, these other teams who have put talent around guys and they just haven't maximized it. At the end of the day,
exactly.
At the end of the day, the goal is to put as much talent around your quarterback as possible.
Correct.
That's the goal. That's the goal. And other teams have not either been able to do it or they have been able to do it, but they haven't maximized it. Simple as that. We've seen Dak Prescott with Amari Cooper and CeeDee Lamb in the building at the same time with Ezekiel Elliott. We've seen that. They had Jason Witten in that building. We've seen that. We've seen Dak. We've seen like these quarterbacks with top 10, top 5 offenses. We've seen it, and they just haven't been able to get it done. You know, that's why I look at Chicago and I say, all right, Caleb, you got the weapons. You got
no excuses.
You got the play caller now. They made moves defensively as well. They fixed your offensive line. You know what I mean? They made your wide receiver room. They kind of cleaned up your wide receiver room in terms of the pecking order now. You know, we know DJ Moore is that 1, Roman Duze is that 2. Colson Loveland maybe year 3. You know, like they've kind of made it clearer in terms of the hierarchy. So, you look at the Washington Commanders, you can say, okay, Jaden Daniels, hey, rookie year is out the way now. Now expectation is here.
Yeah,
expectation is here now. You got a fan base that believes you can be that guy. Okay, you know you got you came in and you did what you did in year 1, and you exceeded expectations. And now the Washington Commanders fans think they somebody. Okay, you got to prove to them that they are somebody.
Yeah, but they're gonna come down to earth because Washington ain't gonna get. You're not gonna get 2 Hail Mary wins. You know, you ain't gonna. You got lucky. You had 3 games. You beat us on a drop pass. You got the Hail Mary. And then I know there was another game.
The Tampa Bay game, the game they beat them in the playoffs.
Yeah.
The kicker, his kick dinged off the upright and bounced in. So they've been fortunate.
Exactly.
They've been fortunate.
Exactly.
A lot.
It bounced your way. I ain't hating on you, but those same breaks are probably not going to happen next year. If they don't get that Hail Mary against Chicago, they don't make it to the playoffs. But they did. It don't say lucky win or lucky loss. It just says win or loss. So guess what? Y'all did what y'all did. Y'all had to go up to Detroit and handle business, and y'all handle business. So, but now they got a whole year worth of film on you. So let's see what you do next year. Chicago's issue is I want to see if Caleb Williams can unlearn bad habits that he picked up last year because he had to run for his life.
Well, he started to figure it out towards the back end of that season. He was looking a lot better.
Yeah,
he was looking a lot better on the back end. So I think he shook off some of that Eberflus. I think he shook some of it off a little bit. Let's just hope that upward trajectory crosses over into this season, because to give him a fair shake, I think the game did start to slow down for him.
Did they get a new coordinator
in Chicago?
Yeah.
I mean, you got a new coach, so I would imagine you did. I would imagine so. The Chicago coordinator is Declan Doyle. I'm not sure who he is, but Dennis Allen is over there now as the DC. Dennis Allen was the former head coach for the Saints.
Right. But I guess the point is that now, so here's another roadblock, because now you got to learn another offense.
Yeah.
Another one. So I'm expecting some more mistakes this year because you learning a new offense.
Wow. Declan Doyle, listen to this. Declan Doyle, this dude is 29 years old.
Oof.
Youth movement. He was the tight ends coach in Denver for 2023 and 2024. He was an offensive assistant in New Orleans from 2019 to 2022. He was a student assistant in Iowa from 2016 to 2018. This dude is 29. He's the OC for the Chicago Bears. Whatever Ben Johnson sees in him, we're going to find out. But I think Ben Johnson is going to be calling on plays, though.
Yeah. Yeah. So we'll see. I mean,
and he was hired by Sean Payton with the Saints. So he's somebody that Sean Payton looked at and said, okay, this kid is smart. Ben Johnson hired him, said he was smart. And
let's see how smart he's going to be.
And Sean Payton even brought him over with him to Denver.
Yep. But at the end of the day, he ain't throwing not one pass. He ain't blocking one person. He ain't catching one ball. So he ain't making one tackle. So we'll see if they got the pieces in place to do what they need to do. And like you said earlier, just because you got them, don't mean it's going to play out the way you think it is.
And guess where Matt Eberflus is? He's the DC for the Cowboys.
All right, we're going to see what we're going to see. You know me. Holler at me when we get on the field. Because all of this talk, all of the rhetoric with, playing the Cowboys week 1 and all that kind of stuff, at the end of the day, I need to see what we look like first.
Absolutely.
But I trust that, Nick gonna have them boys ready, Jalen gonna have them boys ready, and Vic is gonna have them boys ready. So
yeah, the worst, the league fucked up. I'm telling you this. They messed up. They should have never let Jalen Hurts get one. That boy is starving. Like
should have had two.
He should have two. But we're gonna leave that where it's at though. He should have had two, but we're gonna leave that where it's at. Yep. Even AJ and Devontae, they said it themselves. AJ posted about it. Devontae spoke about it in his interview with Carmelo Anthony. They basically said, the Super Bowl, winning it, was fun in the moment. They said a couple days removed from it,
it's gone.
It wears off. It wears off. They said honestly, we get our motivation, we get excited. Our hunger comes from beating the guy in front of us. Yeah. Our hunger comes from looking in another man's eyes, and he know he cooked. He know he can't.
No, he cooked you. No, he could. There's nothing you can do. You know where I'm going. I like to think that I was lucky enough to be able to be in that situation when I was in college. We ran the I formation. Back then, you didn't pass as much as they do now. And I was the feature back. So they knew where I was going. It was no secret. And they still couldn't stop me.
Bro.
They know AJ Brown's coming across that middle and you still can't stop him. They know Saquon is coming off tackle and they still can't stop him. Devontae Smith going to take the top off and you still can't stop him.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, I look at this Eagles team right now and I say to myself, this offense could get better. This offense can get better. Like you got Saquon, but you add AJ Dillon. Now, can he stay healthy with the neck? That's gonna be something to watch.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
But
he's squatting a lot, but yeah.
But I think this offense has a chance to get better. The Dallas Goedert is back for another season. He's playing for some money, so he's going to be motivated as well. AJ Brown, Devontae, we know what they're going to bring. Jalen Hurts is a guy that's never going to rest on his laurels. You know what I'm saying? This defense, I think this defense is hungry. Jalen Carter entering year 3, that's going to be a fucking movie. That's going to be insane. Jalen Carter, decorated Super Bowl champion, a guy that's coming in like come on, man. Coming off that playoff run he had, Jalen Carter, Nolan Smith coming off that run, Jalen coming off that run.
And it's the scary part about Jalen Carter is
Quinyon Mitchell.
It wasn't like JC was pretty good. He was dominant. He was dominating every game he was in. They were double teaming him, and veterans could not stop him. And now he got another year with Vic under his belt. And yeah, he's a problem.
Absolutely. And
he's a problem.
Yeah, and my final word before we get out of here, man. Again, make sure you guys smash that like button. Make sure you guys are subscribed to Pro Fan Talk, subscribe to Chalk It Up Sports, man. We appreciate the love. We appreciate the support. You guys have been phenomenal. Your love, your dedication, y'all support truly makes this engine go. So I really appreciate you guys for locking in with us for as much as you guys have. But I just want to say one last thing before we get out of here, because again, we opened the season with the Dallas Cowboys. We opened the season with the Dallas Cowboys, the PR machine. You know what I mean? We opened the season with the Dallas Globetrotters. They're a sideshow.
Dallas Globetrotters. All right.
I just want everybody to know that Jalen Hurts, in his 4 years as a starter, in his 3 years as a starter, his 4 years as I take that back. For his 4 years as a starter, his 5 years in the NFL. Just want to make sure we got this on record, you guys, because we're playing the Dallas Globetrotters this season. Opening up. And Jalen Hurts' 4 years as a starter, 5 years in the NFL. Jalen Hurts has played in 9 playoff games, is 6-3, is a Super Bowl champion, a Super Bowl MVP, and has won 2 NFC conference championship games.
Yeah.
We got that, right? We pinning that to the fridge. We got that. 6-3 in the playoffs, Super Bowl champion, 2 NFC championship wins, Super Bowl MVP. Pin that. Dak Prescott has played 9 years in the NFL. Has only played in 7 playoff games. Is 2-5 in the playoffs. Has never seen a conference championship game.
Facts.
How does a brother who's played half of the length of his career as you, and he played in more playoff games than you?
The truth can always be questioned because it'll always come back to truth.
And the truth will always set you free, Marcus. God is good all the time.
Man, listen. Another step closer to that day, first day of camp. Yeah, we in good position, man. Howie has moved his pieces on the board expertly. And we are going to be in a good spot. Long as everybody stays healthy, we ain't got nothing to worry about.
I agree with you 100%, big dog. Couldn't agree with you more.
So, but let's get up on out of here, man. We've been rocking and rolling, man. I think we peaked at like 140 people in the chat.
I love it.
So appreciate that, man. Keep showing that love. Like Tone said, check out Chalk It Up Sports and subscribe. Check out Pro Fan Talk and subscribe. And not for nothing, I know it's cliche when we say it, man, but next time you come, next time we get together, bring somebody. Call your friend, call your play cousins, whoever. Send them the link so they can join in and get in this chat and join the conversation. All right? We're going to get that done.
Yes, sir.
All right, Tone, close us out.
Hey, listen, y'all know what the vibes is. Smash that like button. Make sure you guys are subscribed to both channels. You guys have been tuned into your Eagles off-season show featuring Coach Markus from Pro Fan Talk, your guy Tone DeShields II from Chalk It Up Sports. Where no matter if we win or if we lose, we just got to charge us to the game. Your Philadelphia Eagles opened the season against the Cowboys, and we putting belt to ass, dropping that banner, and letting them know this is what winners do. And it's straight like that. Marcus, play the song, man.
Go Birds.
In the city of Philly, where the birds take flight, Eagle swag on the rise each and every night. Tone and Markus got the scoop ready to ignite. From the lanes of South Street to the Broad Street lights, dashing like a running back, hitting every play. 9 guys in the zone, never led astray. Talking touchdowns, talking game day. Huddle around the mic, hear what they gotta say. Fly like an eagle soaring in the sky. Tone and Markus always standing by, bringing their heat, call it do or die. Philly squad, hear the battle cry. Fly like an eagle soars in the sky. Tone and Markus always standing